Hi guys, welcome back to the Metalheads podcast. I'm your host Faye, and today in episode 4, we're going to be looking at crowd mentality. My guests today joining me are Brad and Nathan from the Headbangers Podcast. They have a YouTube channel and on Spotify, so go and check them out if you haven't. And we're going to be talking about social identity theory and how that can be applied to the metal scene. So like and share and retweet and all that good stuff. And yeah, I hope you enjoy. So did you guys do the homework?
We did.
Yeah. I found out me and Brad basically watched like the same videos and like read the same stuff on it because like we've made a little like sheet on our like Google Docs and I was like, you've literally we've done the exact same stuff here.
Yeah, we got proper into it though. It's quite interesting. We started to like draw some parallels between like metal and the crowd mentality. So I imagine that's what we're going to get into anyway. But yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, basically. So yeah, for anyone listening who isn't aware of what crowd mentality is, it's something based upon social identity theory. It's where basically your self-identity is based upon your either being a member or not a member of certain social groups. That's basically what it's based on. So that's why, because not everyone knows that, and that's why I asked you guys to do a tiny weeny bit of homework.
It's okay. Kicks us into gear, to be honest. Keeps us on track.
I mean, I am a teacher, so
exactly.
Sorry.
I think like one of the most interesting ones that I saw was like this chimp stock experiment where they trained chimps that like had like colored blocks, and it's like one represented holding the stock, the other represented buying, and the other one like sell. And they found like all chimps literally like all looked at the other one like, that fucker's holding, I'm gonna hold as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they all just collectively just did the same thing and then just found themselves in a bubble and completely fucked it. Whereas like, and I just couldn't help but to think like when I was reading it about the GameStop like stock shit that went on like in Reddit, because everyone's like hold the stock, and it became like this big massive crowd mentality thing on Reddit, and then they just plummeted the stock by doing it. And it's like you've literally made it worse for all of yous by just blindly following it.
That's a good parallel actually. It's exactly the same.
Yeah, I've just thought it was really interesting, and when I was reading it I couldn't help but to think of that.
Do you guys have any experience of that crowd mentality, like being in the metal concert context?
Well, not like for me, I didn't pull up like a personal sort of experience, but I thought about like the thrash metal scene in the 80s. Like when I think of the most sort of like group mentality scene, it was definitely like the 80s, and things were just starting to get a bit heavy. You had like bands like Exodus and Paul Bailoff that were like, basically saying, let's go trash some posers. Like anyone that doesn't listen to thrash, fuck them off, like go beat them up. And like everyone was like so involved in that scene that like no matter what the band members said, they'd go out and do it. And then anybody that was opposed to it was a poser. And then obviously he got into black metal as well, where he was taking it to the more extreme. It's like, oh no, these people like ruin our heritage here, our Nordic heritage. Let's go burn some churches down. And they formed like an actual inner circle. So yeah, I think there's a lot of nice parallels between it.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think like for me, when I've been like kind of in that crowd mentality sort of thing, where like in the early days of the podcast, like Brad will be able to like to test to this. I used to be very opinionated, and I think it was because I like assigned myself to the like the thrash guy mentality of like, oh yeah, thrash is great, fuck all posers and all this, and like I just like immediately just like, okay, yeah, that's me, I'm gonna follow that crowd, and then it wasn't until like I got into the hardcore scene where I really broke out of that, and it's just like I realized that I was literally just following what anyone else had done, and I wasn't really an individual person. I was just kind of like the typical like thrash guy. So I definitely have been like drawn into crowd like mentality. Like I just kind of would find a new one. Like I'd be like, oh, I'm a death metal kid, and just be in that crowd, then the thrash crowd, and then eventually like kind of broke free of all of them and just went, fuck it, I'll just be my own person.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think we've all been swept up in it at some point a little bit. But before we get into that like much more, I just want to hear a bit about you guys first, because I was on your podcast a couple of weeks ago, and thank you for that, by the way. It was a lot of fun.
No worries, it was great having you.
Had some great feedback. I think people enjoyed that a lot.
Oh yeah.
first of all, how did you guys meet? Like, how long have you guys been friends for? Where did it all start?
Do you want to
kick us off,
start, Brad,
Nathan?
or do you want me to? Because I
I'll
think
do
I
it, be
remember.
honest.
Go on.
Okay. So we there's like this one club in Leeds called the Key Club, and anyone that's like in the Leeds zone and is into alternative music, we're a very small community, so like, you know, everyone goes to the same place. It's like a magnet. Even people that we speak to now still go there. But like, you know, I'd always see certain people there, and Nathan was pretty much there. I think it was the fuel night actually. So there's
So that
another
was
club
like
at the
when
time.
that was when we properly met each other.
Yeah.
But you met Caleb like 3 weeks after, because Caleb had met Ed, who was obviously your friend from high school,
Yeah.
like on a night out. And then from there, Caleb met you, chatted shit about Pokemon to you whilst you were
true,
like
that did
both
happen.
pissed, called you 4. And then from there, we met at the fuel night and started that Chicken Slayers chat.
Yeah, because there was also like another side of it. So we decided to get a KFC, and like that became the sort of thing, because after every night out we'd always go to KFC at like 3 a.m. So we called ourselves the Chicken Slayers. Sounds pretty lame now, but like sounds like some 10-year-old gang or something. But like but yeah, that's how we met. So we bonded through chicken and metal, and then now
Yeah,
here we
and
are.
that was 5 years ago. So we
Mhm.
mates for 5, because we weren't really that
It's
close
been a
to
long
start
5
off.
years.
We weren't really that close to really. Yeah, it's been a long 5 years, but we weren't really that like close to start off with. We were like, we knew obviously we were mates, good mates, but we weren't like as close as we are now. And it wasn't until like I had like a really messy breakup, and Brad kept kind of inviting me around, so I went on my own. That's when we really started like becoming really good friends. And I remember you had the idea. It was like, who wants to be on a podcast? And I think I was the only one in the friends group that was like, yeah, I'll do it. So it just turned from us just kind of chatting shit in Brad's bedroom, just the two of us, to be like, oh, let's just get a mic and just do that instead. So yeah, that's how we met and all that.
Yeah.
That's so awesome, because I get like major bromance vibes from you guys. I think it's adorable.
Yeah, it's almost like a brotherly sort of love, because like sometimes we want to rip each other's head off, but then we're still like a very close bond. I feel like the podcast has like brought us together quite well. Because you know, we speak to each other pretty much every week. Like after my partner, I probably speak to Nathan the most. Like, you know, sometimes he just call me like 6 o'clock just to tell me about his day.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No. You always reject the call, and I know you reject the call because it rings 3 times. It rings 3 times, and then it goes. And that's how I know you. That's how you know you're looking at it, going, fuck that, right? It's like just press the power button, and it doesn't ring anymore. Because then I'm just gonna assume that you're busy. But when it's but, I know you're fucking taking your phone out and ignored it.
Sorry to go on a tangent, but have you ever like hung the phone up on someone and they've been behind you? Like
Yeah,
that happened to me. I was walking to Sainsbury's and I hung up the call and my cousin was behind me. I was like, oh shit, sorry. You weren't
Yeah,
meant to
the
see
worst
that.
one for answering your fucking phone in the entire group. Every time I call Dylan, straight away, you're like, literally, it's harder to call the fucking president than you. It's literally like, it's like, oh, it's like you might as well have like a secretary being like, okay, Brad's available 3 to 5, but he's not available rest of the time. Is that
I'm a
okay
busy
for you?
guy. I don't know what to say. Schedule it in.
Oh, this is amazing. See, bromance. Brought together by metal. I love it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
So you said you guys have been friends for 5 years.
Yep.
And how long's your podcast been going for?
2, maybe
2?
actually 2019, so about 3.
Yeah.
That's
But we were
awesome.
pretty like inactive for about half a year when the podcast first started. Like we did like 1 or 2 episodes, and then we like experienced like a lot of technical issues with the mics. And then obviously like COVID was coming around as well. So like we all sort of fell off, and then we came back in COVID because we had nothing else to do. And then here we are.
Yeah. So just to get introduced to you guys a little bit better, and then we'll go on with like the social identity theory stuff. If you could name your top 3 bands each to give people listening an idea of like what kind of metalhead you are. Top 3 bands.
Easy. Trivium, Urpeth, and Bloodbath.
That's really hard for me. It's probably God's Hate, Incendiary, and at the moment Tribal Glaze.
What about Malevolence?
I mean, like Malevolence were the guys that got me into hardcore, and I love Malevolence a bit. But at the moment, because I've listened to them for so long and so much, and I'm having a bit of a break from them. But Malevolence is probably like in the top 4.
Mm-hmm. But you
It's
said
like that.
Tribal Gaze, that record's fucking insane.
Yeah, like they
They
quickly
got some
became one of my
chunky riffs.
favorites,
Oh.
like just from listening to it. So I was like, yep, these
Like,
guys are sick.
I think just bands on Maggot Stomp in general, like they kill it.
Oh
There's
yeah,
not
it's all
one
that.
band that I've heard from Maggot Stomp that I think, yeah.
They
Like,
got it down.
Like it's
Like
it's all
Tribal
that.
Glaze, I've had on repeat. I've had it on repeat for like absolutely weeks now. It's
Mhm.
just never gets boring. Like it's just the perfect epitome of like, you know, how to keep the production just right. It's not like shit production. Like you can tell what's going on, but then the songwriting, the riffs, the
Yeah.
vocals, everything's perfect.
it really is.
Well,
I
it's
totally
like that. Death metal guys, no, hardcore guys start death metal bands. Started with like Black Dahlia Murder in a way, and then it's kind of like spiraled from there. So you found like you've got the groove area of hardcore thrown into death metal, and it makes both of them great. So I always, because whenever I hear it, like any of their songs, I'm like, there'd be like a groove section. I'm like, oh, that's a 2-step section. That I quite like that.
Mhm.
And it's like, oh, it's because it's from. There's probably like listen to a lot of hardcore and death metal, so they just merged them.
We'll go back to like the theme of today's episode, which is that crowd mentality. Like being at a concert, for example. Any personal experience of how you felt swept up in the whole atmosphere of it and feeling like you behave in a way that you wouldn't usually behave.
Oh yeah,
I think
definitely.
for me, like definitely one thing that sticks to mind is Gojira. When we saw them at Bloodstock 2018 or 19, I can't remember which one, but like it was just such a euphoric concert because like I think sometimes a gig is determined by like how much you and your friends and the rest of the crowd enjoys it, which is a reason why you must know, like, you know, Download Festival in the UK. Like it's the one reason why I don't like that festival as much, because I feel like a lot of the crowd doesn't really get involved. Like they're just sort of there, they stand there, they don't really do much, which is fine. But like for me to really get into a show, like I like when everybody's in the same wavelength, like everybody's feeling the same way towards it, everyone's having a good time, moving a little. And I feel like with Gojira, like everyone was there and everyone was having a good time. I didn't see one single person that was like not like mesmerized by them. So it's almost like they had everyone hypnotized in a certain way, you know, whether it's crowd surfing, whether it was just headbanging, singing along. Like I don't think anybody does it as good as Gojira. They can just grab someone like that, and I think that's one reason I'll always remember that concert, because it was amazing for me personally.
Yeah, I think for me, there's been plenty of times where I kind of get swept up in like the crowd in especially a gig sort of situation. Like there's been multiple times where, because I'm quite a very, you know, like keep myself to myself, like quiet person. But like when there's a crowd doing the same thing, I'm there like, I'll
Quiet.
just do that as well. It's like like hardcore shows. There'll be people just leaping off stage, and I'm like, well, if they're doing it, I'm doing it. So like I'll do shit like that, and like I wouldn't do that outside of the crowd. But it's because I'm kind of drawn up in that atmosphere where I'm like, well, everyone else is doing it, so, and it is fun, so I'm gonna just do that as well. So I do every single show. I kind of get into that sort of probably crowd mentality as well. Like back in the day, I've kind of calmed down now. But I used to, me and my mate Caleb, we used to be like the biggest like guys to jump into the mosh pit. We used to be the first ones in the group to jump in, and now like we don't really do it that much because Caleb
He's in
broke
mosh
his back.
retirement now.
I'm not. Well, it depends. Depends on the mood, but yeah, we used to do that all the time, and it was just purely because we were like, oh yeah, and we just swept up in it all.
Yeah. It's the thing, and there's been so many, especially in the field of psychology, there's so many studies done about crowd mentality at like sports games. It's such a negative, like hooliganism, for example. They focus on lots of like the negative sides of crowd mentality, like football hooligans. That's obviously not great, like the violence, the aggression, the racism, all that stuff that comes with it. But I think apart from what you were saying about thrash in the 80s, that's a good point. And that black metal sort of like extremism, I think metal concerts are actually a really positive example of crowd mentality.
Yeah.
Because metalheads, we have a lot in common. There's a reason we like the music we like. We tend to be pretty chill on a day-to-day basis. Like we have boring ass jobs. we're at an office, or we're not like crazy extroverted people on a day-to-day basis. We have jobs, boring responsibilities, but then we get in these groups with each other and we can just like release all that energy and the aggression and sadness or whatever it is we have through this music. And I feel that I feel really safe at a metal gig. Like, I'd happily take my kids to a metal gig. I would not take my children to like a pop concert or like an R&B concert or something. I'd feel much safer taking my kids to a metal concert. That might sound weird.
Yeah. There's some sort of like brotherhood to it, like if someone falls, you pick them up, and like I think everyone's pretty cordial. You get like the odd like bad egg or two, but
Yeah.
for the most part, like everyone's sort of nice. And like I said, I think everyone builds it up over so long, like they're ready to just have a rager, but in a good way. And so like they build it up, they let it out, and then they go back into the shell again and they hibernate for another half a year until the next year. So yeah, I think it's quite interesting. I do want to pull something up actually about the crowd mentality. That the video that I watched, that was quite interesting. It's not metal related, but I just thought it was cool. And just like, so there's like that patient thing where this woman walks into like a patient lobby, and everyone just starts standing up at the beat for no reason, which you'd think, oh, I wouldn't do that. But then like obviously she sees people doing it, and then like after the third one, she starts getting up to, and she has no idea why she's doing it, but she does it anyway. And then like more people come in, they start doing it as well. And it's really interesting, just like how people do that. But then if you look on the bigger scope, you've got stuff like politics as well. I mean, that is crowd mentality. The media's crowd mentality. It's like such a big scope.
It's interesting though, because that didn't used to be crowd mentality. A lot of people used to have the idea it's like, oh, you voted for that person, I don't care. And it was shit like that. And it's now because of social media, that's transcended into a different realm, because now it's become us against them in a way. Like, whereas before it used to just kind of be like, I don't really care, I voted for that guy. And it was like, it used to just be that. Now it's literally like, what, you don't believe the same thing, or you voted for that guy, that's it, done. Like anger, just aggression. And I think it's because of that little bubble you put yourself in on social media.
Yeah, and it's because like you mentioned today, people's identity, like having a really strong identity and fitting yourself in these certain boxes is so important to people. I don't personally understand that. I'm not one of those people. It's like, oh, I'm this way politically inclined. I have this gender. I have this. It's like, and I think, like you said, social media doesn't help because everyone feels the need to like put their identity out there and like classify themselves in some way, and it does sort of amplify that whole identity theory. Like, my identity is based on my belonging to this group or not belonging to this group, and I think, like you said, it's just social media has not helped that in any way.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And it's all targeted as well. Like, things are just meant to be seen to what you want to see in a way, or like what you don't want to see, so to invoke a reaction. So like it's even harder to escape from that, and then people will take that on and put that as their almost personality trait after a while. So it's a weird time, but
Yeah. And there's a specific area of social identity theory that applies to the metal community, and that's gatekeeping.
Oh yeah, I put notes
yeah.
up on there about it, because I was gonna maybe try to talk about it as well, because it's like everyone's sort of, me and Brad always talk about it. It was like you had like this circle of people who liked like certain bands. Everyone kind of followed that crowd, and now like 30 years on, those bands are still as big and the biggest, and there's only like a few stragglers that have got through, and now there's younger bands that can't get any sort of exposure that are great, but they're like, why are the same like 40-year-old bands like as popular as, well, why are they still selling out headline shows? And it's because of that gatekeeping mentality of like, oh, you don't listen to Cannibal Corpse, fucking poser. He's like, yeah, you might not listen to Cannibal Corpse, but there might also be like this new death metal band that he's really into. And it's like that whole mentality kind of ruins the scene in a way.
I just don't understand it. Like, because I'm so curious. Like, my brain's like, why did gatekeeping even exist? Like, progression. It's the natural order of music. Like, things progress. Like, death metal. Just take death metal. There's so many subgenres of death metal that there weren't like 10, 20 years ago. But they're all awesome in their own way, and they all take inspiration from each other. And you know, some of it I love, some of it I think is okay, but again, they're doing their thing, and it's great. And it's all about progression. And it's just the way it happens. You can't, obviously you can take influence from the past, you can learn from the past, both good and bad. But I just think the whole gatekeeping thing of like, oh, if you don't like Carcass, you're not welcome in this community. It's like, oh God, like
Exactly. And I think the issue with it as well is that me and Nathan have talked about this in our podcast too. But like, if people like don't get past the past and just like, you know, gatekeeping, these are the best bands, I don't listen to anything else. Like, it means that when these bands are gone, the metal community and the metal bands are going to suffer because nobody's wanting to go to these like local shows and nobody's want to support the underground. Like, you know, these bands aren't going to be around forever. And to be honest, like some of the newer bands are doing more interesting stuff now. Like, you know, it's sort of like, when that was first coming out, that was the best thing. But now that there's other bands, you can say, oh, this is what it can do now. Like, why do you not want to see the progression? Why don't you want to see what else you can do with, you know, death metal, black metal, all the subgenres? Like, there's sometimes a band will break through, like, you know, Spirit Box are doing quite well, Malevolence are doing quite well. But I think we need to see that same sort of support for all the smaller bands too. And like even the bands themselves, like they respect the smaller bands, they bring them out on tours, just like Bring Me the Horizons, bringing Lorna Shore out, you know, just like other bands are supporting other bands. So it's like let people, let the new wave of bands come forward and let them headline, because eventually who we're gonna have to headline, you know, once Slipknot's gone, once Iron Maiden's gone, stuff like that.
Exactly. And like you say, between the bands, like the big bands, they know that they're not going to be around for much longer, or not touring maybe for much longer. So they're helping to support and bring up the new wave of death metal that's going to, or just extreme metal in general, that's going to keep it going. And that's what they're thinking about, is longevity. You know, there's no that's why I don't understand gatekeeping, because if you love something, surely you want it to last and progress and just keep going. You don't want to just like shut it down and like condense it to one very specific thing, because then it's just gonna die. I don't get it.
Oh yeah. Like on Brad's sort of point as well. Like we were talking, I remember me and Brad had this like debate once. I think it was before we started the podcast, and I was talking about mainly Bloodstock, and Brad were like, oh, it's great though, they get small people onto headline, like Parker would drive a headlining. But I said to Brad though, but they've been around for like 30 years, and this is their first ever headline show of like a festival. You compare it to like other genres, most of the time it's like you'll get people who are literally like really like popular at that moment headlining that festival. So it's like, if it takes a band roughly an average of 30 years for you to be able to headline a festival in general, most bands aren't going to last that long. Because I've been in bands for like last 3 years. I've been multiple bands for like the last 3 years. That shit, it's not cheap at all. Like everything you do does cost money. And in the last 3 years, I've been in 3 different bands, because it just doesn't last that long. And if it takes 30 years to be taken seriously as a musician and also be put on, like, oh yeah, you can headline, then no one's gonna fucking do that, because they're like, okay, well fuck it then. If it takes that long, I'm just gonna leave it, because a lot of people don't have the patience for that. And I think that's why you've got these select few stragglers that have got in, because they're the only ones that might be, yeah, I can be asked doing that. Like there's a lot of great bands that died off maybe after first year of dropping like an EP, because they'll go to local shows and it is draining. You go to a local show, there's no one there, you play to a room with like 4 people, and it's just annoying, because you're there like, oh, what's the point? And you'll be doing it for like years on end. I have no people that have been in bands like the last 10 years that have just seen no growth, but you're still seeing like these same 30-year-old bands like headlining. It's like, well, you know, like, why can't you give someone like
Something's got
that,
to give.
you know, like them a chance, because they've been a band for 10 years and they're at the same place they started. Who the fuck else is gonna like really want to bother?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree. And that's why I like for example, I went to see Gojira and they had Alien Weaponry and Employed to Serve supporting them, And I read they did an interview and they said, well, 15 years ago that was us. Someone gave us a chance and took us on tour, and now we're lucky enough to be in this position where we can now take out some bands that need some publicity and like some love and support. And I just think that's the way it should be. It's just the natural way of things. It's like parents bringing up children, it's just the natural order of things. I think that should be applied to music too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
absolutely. And I think also, it's great to see that, like you said, the support from like someone like Gojira, who were that band once. And I think another band that springs to mind is Trivium too. Like, they're always bringing out like not only like younger metal bands but younger hardcore bands, and they'll always like post a big list, kind of like how the metal Twitter does, and he'll post like all your favorite albums. Like, he'll do that as well, which is pretty rare sometimes to see from a band to do that. Like, you always wonder, I wonder what they're listening to. Like, he just wears it on his sleeve and says, these are the bands you need to listen to, and we're bringing them out on tour next month. And I think more bands are starting to do that, which is great, because it's like that's the only way we can grow and sustain itself. So
I would like to play a little game with you guys. And I play this with all my guests. I don't know how many episodes you've listened to of my podcast. Well, there's only 3, but and it's called Gift or Curse. The basic idea is I'm going to give you 5 things that just exist in the world, and you guys have to decide if that thing is a gift to the world or a curse upon the world.
Sounds fun. Let's do it.
Okay?
Yeah, I'm up for it.
My first thing, quite controversial. Pineapple on pizza. Gift or curse?
Gift.
No.
Headbangers
Quite like
cancelled
it.
tomorrow.
I quite like it. I feel like it gets a lot of hate.
It
It
does.
has a very, very nice flavour to the pizza. A very good contrast with the cheese. It's very nice.
It's got like a yin and yang flavor thing,
Yeah.
like they shouldn't go together, but like
It's like the sweet and
the
savoury.
sweet, the sweet and savory. It's a classic dynamic, a classic
Yeah,
duality of foods. Like, it's
Got a bit
perfect.
of
I don't
bacon,
know. I like it.
It's like bacon on pancakes with maple syrup. That's banging. Pineapple on pizza is equally as banging.
I mean, just the idea of pineapple and tomato doesn't sit well in my head or my stomach, to be honest.
It's amazing.
I mean, I've already established I have no say on pizza.
Yeah,
'cause I don't
I
have it
mean,
with
to be fair,
cheese.
Brad's the bravest one because he's having that pineapple directly on the fucking tomato.
I'm like a new breed of people to
Like-
hate.
Because he's like no cheese, so it's straight on that tomato.
Yeah, so Brad hates cheese. You hate pie. We established that in the episode I was on. That's brave for a northerner, but yeah.
Exactly.
I
So
got
you're saying-
crucified in the office for it.
So you're
As you
saying it's a
should.
gift.
Yeah.
Gift.
Interesting. Now, I don't know if you don't have kids, either of you.
No.
Right. So number 2 is children. Gift or a curse? And I'm
Gift.
interested to hear this from people who don't have kids of their own.
Gift for me.
See, I feel like
I knew Brad's
feel-
answer before you finished the question.
It feels weird saying it to someone that has kids,
No, trust me. I have kids. If you say curse, I'll be like, it's fine.
Isn't a curse like directly to me? Like, if I had kids, like, is it my opinion whether I want them or not?
Yeah, it's like
It's how you feel.
just
Do
feel
you,
like
do
the
you
world's
feel they're a
bonkers.
gift or a curse to the world?
Curse.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's only because my perception. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of kids personally, but I understand it's a gift for some people. Just not for me. I can barely look after myself. So
me and Brad have got like 2 very opposite like opinions on it. Like, you don't, because obviously Brad, you don't want kids at all. Whereas like it's always been the goal for me to have kids eventually. Like, I've always seen myself as a dad.
Yeah.
Like in the future and all that. I've always seen my future as get a nice little house, get married, have a few kids. That's like been the ideal life for me.
Yeah.
Because I think it'd be very rewarding, and B, like ever since I was 8 years old, that was like, yeah, I can see my life going like that.
I respect people that don't want. There's no one that says you have to have children. Like, I respect people's decision not to have kids, because that might be better than having kids for them. Because if you have kids and you don't really want to, but you have it because you feel you have to, it's no, it's not good.
I mean, never say never. Maybe eventually I'll change my mind. If it's just at the moment, yeah, definitely. I know I wouldn't appreciate having a kid if I was to have one now. Maybe in the future I'll change. Maybe I've just got some growing up to do, it's becoming less selfish.
I had a
So,
theory with this with you because you're an
what
only
have you been plotting
child.
against me?
No, but you're an only child, whereas I'm the oldest of three.
You call
So
me a selfish cunt?
most people, no, but most people that I've met that don't want kids don't have siblings. So like, it's a
Fair
very
point.
weird thing, but I think it's something to do with if you're the oldest or if you've got siblings, you kind of have that innate sort of knee-jerk reaction to want to care for someone else as well. It's
Fair.
a
As a
weird
resident
thing, but
psychologist,
I
do
think no,
you condone this?
but it's true though. I think there's something to it because everyone I've met doesn't have any like that's an only child has no intention of having kids. But most people I've met with siblings are like, yeah, I'd want to have kids.
I don't think you can group everyone together.
I mean, I think it can go both ways because I'm an only child and I've got 2 kids. Not that I didn't have a great childhood as an only child, but I always sort of maybe felt there was something missing in that way. Like, and I just think that I had my oldest, he's 3 years older than my youngest, and he's a good boy. He's a really good boy, but he's always like, it's just nice to see them playing together and like having that bond.
I have a interesting question for you, Fair.
Yeah.
Do you feel like as an only child and then having kids that it's taught you to, I mean, not saying that every only child is like a bit like more self-centered than like say a person with siblings, but do you think that it teaches you to be less more selfless by having kids? Because now you've got someone to give for, as opposed to siblings, you've always got the sharing aspect and you've got to like, do things together.
Absolutely. I think it has. And as an only child, you haven't grown up having to share, having to take someone else's needs into consideration. So you are inherently more selfish just naturally. It's not because you're trying to be, you just are because you haven't grown up with that. So yeah, as soon as you become a
I use
parent,
that excuse next time I make a selfish decision.
yeah, it's your parents' fault, it's not yours.
Exactly. Fuck them.
But I think what you're saying, Nathan, can be applied to both ways, because I also know people who've got many siblings who don't have any kids because they were like, fuck that. That was the worst, having to share, and it was just fighting. I think it can swing both ways. But I think it's nice that you have that. You've had the positive experience of that. I think it's
Yeah, like the thing is, growing up with siblings, you have like some of the best memories because you immediately, it's like it's a weird thing, but you immediately have like when you're like friends like immediately, like you're a kid, because there's only 3 years between my brother and there's only 4 years between me and my sister, so like we all kind of all grew up at the same point. So it was like you immediately have just friends that you can talk to, or like a lot of the times, one cute little thing was when my brother was in reception. We still have it. They had like a little questionnaire, and at this point I was 6, my brother was 3, and he was like writing down. He was like, "What makes you sad?" And he wrote down, "When Nathan won't play out with me."
no.
So like it's like you have like immediate like this connection with each other where you can be friends, like and like have this really nice bond, and you grow up really like, I think it helps your empathy a lot more because it's like you really are always around someone that might be feeling something different to you, or like you might upset someone or say something that I think if you was like and only like if you did that in like a social situation, it'd end like really badly. But because it's your sibling, you learn at an early age, oh shit, you don't say shit like that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And it's like it's weird. It almost jumpstarts you in a way.
PlayStation's cool too.
That makes a lot of sense, and that's partly why I had another child, is because I wanted my oldest to always have someone he could rely on, like when I'm not there anymore, and maybe friends come and go, boyfriends, girlfriends come and go, but at least they'll always have each other. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was my kind of thinking behind that. So we
That's
have
quite
one
awesome.
gift and then one curse for kids.
Yes.
Fair enough. Now, number 3, I've put this on here because I have a very strong opinion on this, and I want to see
Okay.
if, pumpkin spice flavored / scented things, gift or
I
curse.
literally had a pumpkin spice latte today, so you already know my opinion on this.
Nah,
Yeah.
cursed. Cursed for me.
Yeah, I couldn't
Cursed.
agree more. Fucking hate the stuff. It's disgusting. It tastes. Do not put that shit in my coffee.
Yeah, like I tried this pumpkin spice latte, and I was like, what are all these people ranting about?
Oh, it's
Like,
delicious.
No. It made my coffee worse.
Yeah.
It made it actively worse
Yes,
than what
it did. Exactly. I tried it once. I remember I was in Luton Airport, worst airport ever, by the way.
Yeah,
About
I'm not surprised.
just really shit. About 5-6 years ago, and there was a little Starbucks there, and I was like, right, I need to try this pumpkin spice because everyone's raving about it. It must be great. And I tried it, and I was like, my coffee tastes like soap. This can't be
It's
like.
ruined.
It's ruined. What have they done? And I took it back and I was like, is it meant to taste like this? And she was like, yeah, people love it. And I was like, right, great, okay, thanks for that. Never had one since. It was just the worst. I don't understand the hype.
The worst one as well. Like, have you ever tried it with oat milk? It is so worse with oat milk. Like, it is so much worse. Like, it is absolutely vile with oat milk. Like,
What does it taste
coffee,
like?
no, coffee with oat milk, amazing. It's actually
Yeah.
like way better than with normal milk.
I
Absolutely.
agree.
Pumpkin spice, because you get the nutty taste of the oat milk, and then this soapy, disgusting fucking mess of a flavor that's the fucking pumpkin spice, and then the bitterness of the coffee, and you're now like, you know what? I
That
honestly,
sounds hideous.
it is awful. I had one from Starbucks. It was the worst coffee I've ever had in my entire fucking life. Like, and it was to the point where I drank half of it. The fucker was £5 I was there like, you know what? I'm not having the rest. I've had one sip. That's enough.
Yeah.
That's enough. I don't have to subject myself and try to convince everyone like, oh, pumpkin spice is great. It's fucking shit. It actively destroys the flavor, whatever the fuck you put it in, and it's disgusting.
I
Absolutely
disagree.
agree. I agree with that 100%.
I was on my way to work today. I was going to go to the gym. Bus was late. I was like, fuck it, let's go to Greg's. I saw it, pumpkin spice. Took a sip. I was like, spooky seasons begins now, boys. Let's go.
No, honestly, it popped in my head, right? No, whilst I was drinking this fucking disgusting ass coffee, right? It popped into my head. Who the fuck at Starbucks went, pumpkins, that shit you carve at Halloween? Yeah. What if you fucking put that in a coffee? And why the fuck wanted me immediately ejected from the meeting?
I think he's
Like,
a genius.
you're an idiot. No.
He or she's a genius.
No. It's
Lovely.
awful. It's awful. It is just ruins everything. And October's the worst because you always get it in everything, and you're like, you know what? I just don't want it at all.
It's everything, and suddenly anything that's just normally orange is suddenly pumpkin, or pumpkin flavored, or pumpkin smelling, and you're like, no, it's just orange in color. It's fuck's sake.
It's not a nice thing to eat either. It's just not nice.
It doesn't taste nice. I don't think it smells particularly great, like pumpkin spice scented candles and oils and all that shit that basic white people buy. It's just like,
I've literally got a pumpkin spice candle that's lit right now.
so you're
feeling attacked, Brad.
You are the basic white bitch that they aim all
I
their
am.
marketing at.
Oh, I've known Brad for 5 years. He
I
is
was there in the
most
back.
basic of white
Pumpkin
bitches.
spice latte, Matthew McConaughey book on. I was like, this is living.
Amazing.
Wine in hand, Ugg boots on.
Ugg
Like, this is living.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I hate the stuff. I absolutely hate it.
Do not bring it within 10 miles of my coffee.
Like, our lass really likes it, and I was like, oh, is it nice? And she went, yeah. And I felt fucking tricked. I honestly felt tricked. I was like, you know what? I always trust her opinion. I was like, her opinion here is fucking wrong. Like,
smart girl.
Bit of a tangent, but the smell of pumpkin, there's certain smells that immediately make me sick. Like projectile. It's dog food for one. If that is an inch away from me, I will fucking vomit. And I own a dog. Like, it is slow fucking torture whenever I have to feed him. Like, I once honestly vomited all over my kitchen counter just trying to fucking give him a bit of dog food.
And I own a dog.
Yeah. Pumpkin.
Poor dog.
But the love of the dog is enough for me to suffer that. Pumpkin, there's no reason why I need to suffer through that. When I used to be a kid and I'd be carving pumpkins, my mum had to dig it out for me, because if I was in the room whilst it was being carved, I'd just fucking projectile, like just like Exorcist level shit.
It
like,
smells
it's just
horrible.
so bad.
It doesn't
it
smell
smells
nice.
so bad.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad that at least one of you agrees with me on that. Yeah.
Guys don't respect spooky season.
No, I respect spooky season, my favorite season, but pumpkin spice season is the worst fucking season.
Spooky season and pumpkin spice season unfortunately coincide, but pumpkin spice can just fucking do one. That's just it. Like, not having
Aslan
it.
corrected them.
No, you enjoy it. You do you. That's great. Cool. So number 4 on my list is, I also have a very strong opinion about this.
Okay.
Festivals. Gift or curse?
Gift.
In between. This is the thing.
Fuck off, David. You go to every year? How can it be in between?
Yes, I go to one every year because my mate's there. But sometimes if none of you were there, it would be fucking shit.
Obviously, you're not going to go by yourself, are you?
I like festivals. This is why I think it's both a gift and a curse. Because gift, massive lineup of bands that you really want to see, great. Curse, Bloodstock this year was boiling, hotter than a fucking oven. I missed all the bands that I wanted to see.
Can't blame the festival for the sun.
I'm not blaming them for that. But mostly in the summer, yeah, that was probably the coolest fucking Bloodstock we'll see in our lifetime. It probably like 60 fucking degrees next year. And this is why it's the curse bit. Camping and not showering, I feel disgusting on that last day.
I mean, I agree with that.
Like, honestly, sometimes the smell, because you can tell who's had a baby wipe shower and who's just fucking gone for it. Like, this year at Bloodstock, sometimes someone would lift their arm and like, it would make my eyes fucking peel. Like, they weren't just water, they'd fucking peel. Like, where it's there, like, just even just a little bit of deodorant would have made that so much more bearable. But nah, bro, you just like went fucking 40 degrees, don't need no deodorant.
At least we
So
bathed
it's
each
like,
other.
mate, it's like 50% gift, 50% curse. Like, it's honestly an even split.
See,
I'm fully gift, personally, because, like, even though you sacrifice hygiene, you sacrifice eating a stable diet for 5 days, like, you know, you're there stacked full of bands, you're completely disconnected from the world. Like, even when you go on, like, you know, abroad or you go on holiday, like, you're still sort of in society in a way. It feels like you're in society. But then when you're at a festival, you're surrounded by metalheads, you're surrounded by all kinds of alternative people. Like, it's the one time, it's like, you know, like a pilgrimage for metalheads. You know, you all go there, you all have a good time, everyone's on the same wavelength. So I think that sort of dilutes the facts of the curse side of it, personally.
and I respect that. My personal opinion, I am way too much of a princess to be sleeping in a tent. Just not gonna happen. Like, I love going to a concert because I know I can go back to a hotel and have a shower afterwards and like sleep in a proper bed. And this is just full princess mode, and I you know, it's just, this is what I am. But the thought of sleeping in a tent, not washing, and being around other people doing that, and they're probably drunk or high or both, it's just, no matter how good the bands are, I would not enjoy myself. It would just dampen the whole experience for me personally. So
I
I'm
understand where you're
definitely
coming from.
curse. I'd rather just go to like a concert with like 2 or 3 bands. That would be great.
It does get to like the last day, and you know what I mean, from when you're just like, I kind of want to go home.
Yeah, no, honestly, you know what? I tried to get the showers each day.
He did try. He really tried.
Every single fucking day, every different hour of the day, it was always packed. And it's like, oh yeah, £9 to bathe yourself. Cheers, mate. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, that's a fair deal. But like, I didn't even get to the paying point. I just heard that it was £9 from people that had waited 2 hours to get there. I was like, I can't. As much as I hate being unclean, I also can't be asked waiting 2 hours to get a mediocre shower.
Yeah.
Do people get a time limit? Like what if someone takes like an hour in the shower?
No, there were definitely
no to get out.
There were definitely no time limits, because I swear that it's like the doors never opened. Like, you'd look down and the same people would be in the same place in line, just there, and the doors would still be closed. You wouldn't see anyone coming out with a towel, like, you know, drying their hair or like that. It'd just be closed the entire time, and it felt like hell, and it was boiling as well. Like, you'd see steam coming out the top. I'm like, oh, it's like 50 degrees.
Yeah.
And then I've got to get into a steamy shower too. I'd pass out.
No. That's literally my idea of hell.
Yeah, like,
Yeah,
I like
understand
them.
that.
If my mate, the thing is, the only thing that's good about it is the bands and my mates. But like, there's a lot of cons to that as well. Where it's like paying like £9 for a burger that's like drier than like
Yeah, that is the worst.
than a boot, and it's like, you know what? It's like that was worth £9. Like ice cream this year, like £11 for an ice cream. Yeah, okay, that seems fair.
Wow.
Like
I had like an
Yeah.
impressively dry kebab. Like it was the driest kebab I ever had. It was like
Impressively
eating
dry.
through tire. It was awful. I'm like, this is actually impressive how they managed to make it so dry.
I got sick after eating at one of
Awful.
the places. I can't remember which one, but I came back and my stomach was in bits. Yeah, no,
Yet
it's
another reason that festivals. I mean, the only
Yeah.
festival it was called a festival was Incineration Festival, but it was
Need to
like
go to
over
that.
one day. It was like from like 11 in the morning until midnight, and you could just go around different venues and go and see the bands you want, and then you could just go home afterwards or go to your hotel. That was great for me. That's as much of a festival as I will ever go to. If it involves sleeping in a tent, I will not be there.
Yeah, I enjoy the one dayers, to be fair. Like we've got Damnation coming up. He used to be in Leeds, so I'm really annoyed that they got rid of it in Leeds.
yeah, I
But
miss it
I
being in
understand that
Leeds.
capacity wise, they kind of had to do it. It was overheaving a bit.
Mhm.
But like, used to go to the festival, just get a taxi home. That was it.
Yeah.
That was
Lovely.
nice.
Lovely.
That's
And
in Manchester.
I've also reached that age now where I'm like, yeah, I need to go home, have a sleep.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I'm kind of feeling the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're the festival king, Brad.
I am the
Literally,
festival
like
king, but
it is your zone. Like I remember the amount of times I'd be sat at camp just trying to cool off, and Brad would be like in the arena, come back looking like a lobster, and being like, "Yep, I saw like this band, this band, this band," and then he'd shoot off to see the next few, and I'd be like, "I can't even be arsed getting up."
Yeah.
I have to put myself through the pain to get my money's worth. It was painful,
point.
and I did come out like a lobster.
So, my final question on this list is one that I ask all my guests. Flavored condoms, gift or curse?
Curse.
All condoms are cursed.
I
This
mean,
is the
I'm
man
not
who
saying you should
doesn't
get
want
everyone pregnant.
children.
I mean, I don't. I think they're
I
very
like
much
playing
a
with
gift.
fire.
I think they're very much a gift. Like they stop
Oh,
STDs,
that-
STIs. Like
I'll
they
play
are.
devil's advocate. I'll play devil's advocate. I think they're a gift to the world, but not a gift for me.
I think you've just outed yourself on a podcast here, Brad.
I think it's hilarious.
I'm
That
actually a
he's
father
man,
of 10.
he's like the man who doesn't want children, hates condoms.
Yeah, it's ironic.
Yeah.
So, I
Yeah,
don't want kids, but condoms can fuck off.
Yeah.
Like,
I've secretly got about 20 kids right now. They're just like all across the world.
yeah. Somewhere there's like some really tall blonde kids just randomly spotted around. Like it's like
They're
hang on a
walking
minute.
around going, fucking hate cheese. And
Yeah.
then there's like,
Don't like
Fucking love
cheese.
pineapple, though.
love
And
pineapple.
pumpkin spice lattes.
Yeah, no, I think they're a curse mainly because what's the market you're trying to fill? Because latex tastes awful anyway. But it's like, hey, how about we make our awful rubbery shite latex taste like a banana covered in shite latex? And it's like, yeah, that was a genius idea because that would work. Yeah, no, it's an absolute tragedy. I've never known anyone that's bought them unironically. Like I never know anyone that's been like, tell you what, those flavored condoms, they're best. Like that's the only ones that I do. No, they're condoms are great. Flavored condoms can honestly fuck off. Like it's just disgusting.
I agree, and I think it's a good measure that if you're on a date with a guy and he brings those out, it's like, nah,
It was
not
like,
happening. It's a very good measure of like the maturity level of someone.
but you know what's funny? It's always the one like because people buy them as a joke, forget they have them, right? And then like it's always like when someone's forgot to buy it, like buy some that then they get used. They're literally like the backup condom.
Yeah.
Because it's like, but they're unintentionally the backup
Substitute
condom.
team. Yeah.
Like, hang on, I bought these as a joke ages ago. I'll use these.
Exactly. Like I bought them as a joke, but I forgot to buy real ones, and now we have to use these.
If you had to do like a brand deal there, if someone said, right, Metalheads podcast, we need to, create a flavor, for your brand, like what would you pick? Something that describes the podcast as a whole. What's your flavor?
Mint chocolate.
Nice.
I did see one
Really
once
fresh.
where it was like chocolate flavored, but like the only way you know what, I could imagine what the flavor would be, and it's like, have you ever sprayed like Lynx Africa straight into your mouth? Probably be
No.
like bang on that.
No.
Why would you
Probably be
do
bang
that?
on that. I'm not saying I've done it.
You
But, like,
damaged child.
have you ever
Why would you do
have
that?
you ever accidentally tasted like, oh, what's if again? This is like you know, like a sibling thing. Once my brother thought it'd be fucking hilarious whilst I was laughing to just spray fucking like deodorant straight
That
into
is
my
funny,
mouth.
to be
That's
fair.
how I know what that tastes like, and it's disgusting. But it's probably how I imagine like a chocolate flavored condom would also taste like. Like it'd
Yeah.
probably be bang on that.
See, like you said, latex is a very strong flavor on its own. So yeah, I was with a guy. I was with a guy once. He had bacon flavored ones.
Oh, that's
Oh,
disgusting.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't even like frazzles, to be honest. Like, bacon flavored things. Never mind bacon flavored condoms.
Yeah.
That'd be a red flag. It'd be like, out.
I had one person like hand me a glow in the dark one once.
Now that
That sounds
would-
funny as fuck.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's like
Really?
you know those. Yeah, you know those pound shop glow sticks you used to get that were never really that bright.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. It's just like
Ah,
a
okay.
really dim green light in the darkness, and it's you know, you just kind of like, it takes you out of the moment.
Mm.
But yeah, like,
It'd be
you know
great
what,
for
fuck it.
Halloween, though. Imagine if it actually works. You just
No, it's
like,
like-
got
It's
the
like, you know
candles
what?
lit. Boom.
No, it's literally like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just like have a sleep. I'll go in the morning. I'll get some actual ones because I don't really want to be looking like seeing just a glow in the distance of this fucking glow stick, like reflecting off of somewhere and like being like, what the fuck's that? Oh, it's that. Okay.
What about a hypothetical question? Say, like, your dream crush, like, I don't know, it's Jason Momoa, but he's got a pumpkin spice, like, a condom. Do you take? Do you leave?
If I was single, maybe. Depends how many tequilas I've had.
Just to block out the taste and the smell of pumpkin spice.
To be fair, I think pumpkin spice tastes shit anyway, so I would not have any expectation of like, this is gonna taste great. So
That's true. There's
Yeah,
no
that on top
expectation.
of latex.
You can't be more
is
disappointed.
exactly.
An awful combination that you like. I mean, there probably is pumpkin spice condoms out there, you know. I
100.
There
wouldn't be
probably is.
surprised.
I'm sorry, there are Tabasco flavored ones, so there must be
What the
pumpkin
fuck?
spice.
Who the
flavoured
fuck
ones.
gets Tabasco? It's like, oh, I just want to torture myself today. Like,
But imagine it. Also for the woman.
Oh,
but the thing is, there's like all these different types of condoms that have a very unique purpose, but
Yeah.
flavored condoms have none.
that is
Like,
true.
it's
For
literally
me,
just-
in my opinion, it's for teenagers who are like trying out a load of stuff and think they're really cool and think this is what adults do. Other than that, I
No.
can't see a purpose to them.
I mean, even
Yeah,
as a
definitely the
teenager,
case.
I didn't think, oh yeah, that'll be fun to try. I always had like the image of like you pull that out and then immediately be like, yeah, you know what, this ain't gonna happen.
And that is true.
Yeah.
That is what happens. But
Yeah.
some men don't have that awareness and they just think this is gonna be amazing. Women are gonna fall at my feet because I do this, and you're just like, no.
Then they'll quickly learn.
Yeah. Very quickly.
Yeah.
So I'm glad about that. You guys, that was awesome, because when I asked the bangers guys that, they were like, oh, fucking gift mate. And
Love it.
I was like, really? And they were like, no? And I'm like, come on, let me hear your explanation.
No?
And they were like, well, we're not the ones sucking on them, are we? And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. Right, great. Why do I even ask? Yeah. So I like your answers.
The top quad.
So just to round everything off, I just wanted to quickly ask you guys, because we are recording this on the 3rd of October. So your top 3 albums from September that got released.
Oh shit, this is gonna be an hard one.
You can do
Really
5 if
hard.
you want. I've got a whole list as well. 5 is cool. It is hard.
Bloodbath, Phobophilic, and Tribal Gaze.
I can't
And
name.
Devil Wears Prada.
I am
That's good.
so terrible at listening to full albums though. Can I choose singles?
Sure.
All right, so the new Lorna Shore track, I really liked that. I thought it was very like different level of, you know, it wasn't To the Hellfire Part 46. It was definitely like a really good like improvement. I really liked Tribal Glaze, and a third one I'm struggling. I'm gonna have to check my Spotify and see what I was listening to. There was one single that was released that I've been literally like listening to off. Yeah, so it's from a band called Law of Power. It's Born into War. They're like a hardcore band from, I'm assuming, Los Angeles from the music video, because they're very tanned, very muscly, and they're definitely walking through Los Angeles.
Very muscly.
Yeah. Oh no, the vocalist is the biggest man I've ever seen in my life.
Fair
Like
enough.
I was just from watching the video, I'm like, yeah, I would not want to like cross him in any bad way. I wanted to send him flowers just to make sure I didn't make sure I don't mean any ill intent. But yeah, no, that track is very good. It's got a really, really nice, like, bouncy sort of opener, and the breakdown is the intro slowed down, so every hardcore kid's going to lose their head to it. So yeah, it's those are my like 3 from September because I really enjoyed them. I don't really listen to albums, so I'll just tend to listen to singles and then like kind of forget that the album's coming out until like 6 months later and go, oh yeah, shit.
Yeah, I mean,
Can I have a fifth one as well?
Oh,
And I
you
picked
greedy
4.
fucker. Like,
yeah, go on, do it.
Did Fallujah come out this month?
It was on the 9th.
September.
Yeah.
Yes, that'll be my 5th choice because
that was
Chef's Kiss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, you mentioned Lorna Shore. I've listened to the whole new album. I've had it. It's in my inbox. It's probably in your guys if you have that.
Nathan,
it might be.
This is what we were meant to do.
We don't
last
check
time.
this email. We were meant to check the emails last week, but we forgot.
Get on it, Nathan.
It's in there. It's if you're subscribed to them, it's there.
I'm gonna go on the email after this. And just
need to do this.
I just can't. I love all sorts of like super extreme metal. The vocalist, super talented, no doubt. Like he does fucking amazing things with his voice, and they're all talented musicians. But it's so intense for my ears. I can't listen to a whole album at a time. Even one song afterwards, I'm like, fuck. That was like a workout for my brain. I just can't. It's so intense.
I don't understand how the drummer plays like that music every night on a tour, because I'd be ruined after the first maybe 10 minutes.
He must have superhuman abilities. Like,
what's
but my
your
favorites?
top 3?
Mine 3. Oh, I have a list here. There's 12. Some of the ones you mentioned, like Tribal Gaze, Philophilic, Revocation, Fallujah.
Oh my god, I forgot about Revocation. Wait, I'm swapping that for my 3rd one.
Xenobiotic was one of my favorites. Omophasia, God Eater, and Stormland. They came out last Friday. Amazing stuff. Really amazing stuff. But yeah, I'm gonna see Revocation in January. I'm very excited.
Yeah. I think they're doing Manchester as well, so I'm probably going to head down to that. Oh, by the way, when you mentioned that like Moller doing a tour in the UK, so I was like, Nathan, we should get on this. So the next day I text Nathan, like, I think Moller doing a tour. I checked the dates and it was literally the day after the podcast that we did.
Yeah.
So I missed it, and I was like, no.
I saw that after recording. I was like, did I get that right? And I was like, I knew they were going to be in the UK at some point, and I was like, oh, it was like yesterday. Great.
I can't believe I missed it. I'm
I felt so bad. I was like, oh god.
It was a sunburst journey to work, listening to Diorama. I was like,
oh, I know, but they'll be back, I'm sure. Like when I spoke to Kim, he was like, they love touring in the UK. So he says we'll do it any chance we get. So
I'll never make that mistake again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really want to see him. There's quite a few gigs that are getting announced where I'm like, I really want to go to that. But my wallet is very disagreeing on it.
I'm the same. Like, the band Hell Ripper?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, we spoke to them. Spoke to him. Very good.
He's super nice. I saw them at Incineration, and he's just announced. I've been bugging him, like literally harassing him the last year. Like, come to Denmark, and he wrote to me. He was like, "I'm coming to Denmark." I was like, "Fuck, I'm working that night. Damn it."
No. Suppose you gotta get him to rearrange either.
No, and it's a Tuesday night, right? And I work weekday. I've got my 9 to 5 like everyone else, and I was like, fuck.
Oh,
can I take 2 days off work? Probably not.
You gotta make it happen. He's made a tour for you and you can't go.
Speaking of that, you said that we should come down sometime, and me and Brad have been looking into it, and we might be we are actually quite tempted to go, because we worked out it's cheaper for us to fly to Poland,
Yes.
and then fly to London than it is to get the train. It's like a couple like
Checkmate.
I think it's like 60 quid or something like that for us to fly to Poland, then to London, then to London, back to Poland, back to Leeds. So like it's like we might as well. I'm half tempted to go. Let's go Poland for a little bit before, and then go to the festival after. So we might maybe we go down. It'd be like my second time in London if we do. So
we'll look after you. It's all right.
Yeah, let's do it. Sounds fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really like I missed half of it because I had to like travel a fuck ton, but I got to see the two bands that I wanted to see, so that was all great. But yeah, it was a really good night.
Yeah, it's on my list.
I think we'll round out there. Thank you very much for joining me.
No worries. It's been great.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
it's been unusual. Us being on the receiving end of the questions.
Yeah, how do we do?
I think you did very well. I mean, we've discovered so much about you two.
Yeah.
The basic bitchiness.
It's a side I was never meant to show on this podcast.
Now the world knows Brad doesn't wear condoms.
Yeah.
So this is a message. This is a message to all Brad's previous partners. Yeah, go to the clinic. Just in case, because we've established he doesn't wear.
Cause havoc.
Go to the clinic. Send him a little message. How's it going?
Yeah. I gotta say hello to my 12 children.
Before you tell Brad, tell me so I can have a little bit of a laugh about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell Nathan so he can reveal it on the podcast.
Yep. Brad,
big grand reveal.
Remember when you said you don't work out? You've got chlamydia.
My pumpkin spice minions as well.
Oh God. Oh, that's amazing image. Well, yeah. Well, thank you so much, guys. I had a blast.
No, it's been great.
Thank you very much.